What is going on, Colts Nation? We are finally here. Final game of this dreaded 2022 season. Your guys, Cody and Derek, here back with another one, guys. And kind of coming to you at a weird time. Had some things yesterday. We typically record on a Thursday and kind of have the game preview out on like a Friday afternoon, early afternoon to mid afternoon. But had some stuff come up. We weren't able to do it. So we figured to kind of wrap this stinker up of a season, we would go live and we would kind of give you guys just the preview live of the Colts versus Texans. You know, these teams met at the beginning of the season and they will close the season out. Hopefully we actually have a victor this time and a loser this time. Because as you remember, the Colts and Texans tied in week one, went to overtime. And both teams probably should have won that game at one point, but both teams, as we've seen this theme throughout the rest of the season, Derek, both these teams find miraculous ways to lose and screw up games. And so right now, Houston, is the worst team record-wise in the NFL. They only have 2 wins, whereas the Colts sit at number 5 right now in the draft order. So not a whole lot of discrepancy here, Derek, between these two football clubs. And I would say, honestly, I would argue, I know Houston really struggled last week. They got pretty much smacked by Jacksonville. I'd argue, Derek, that Houston right now, they might be the hotter team than the Colts, which is just saying something because Houston has the number 1 overall pick right now, right? So that just shows you the state of this franchise right now. But I think we can just kind of get into it. I guess before we kind of get into some individual matchups, what's your overall thoughts just on this game? And just this season as a whole for the Colts?
Well, I think that most of Colts Nation has the same kind of thing on their mind, right? Which is, the situation where we don't want to have them win in a sense, because, if they win, then it's just going to screw over a lot of things record wise. And, there's an opportunity for the Colts to actually be in the top 3 for teams after this week if everything went according to plan. I don't expect that to happen, but then again, we've seen crazier things happen in this league. But on your statement from before, I mean, I would definitely agree with you. I think the Texans actually are better than the Colts right now. Just from the sense that, the Texans always just remind me of that college team that's like always, they're always understaffed. They're always they're not as talented as the rest of the group out there, but they always play hard, dude. Because every team that faces them goes in there thinking they're just going to destroy them. And then they go in and they get a rude awakening. Right. So that's the kind of the Texans motto over the last several years has just been, we may not be as talented as you, but we're definitely going to try to outwork you. And in the NFL, a lot of times that can work out for you in certain ways. And of course, this Colts offense has just been so abysmal all season that I mean, we definitely both, I think we could both sit here and agree that I don't think we think the Colts are going to score 20 points in this game. They scored 20 points in the first matchup, but then again, that came off of, getting 17 points in the fourth quarter, being down, 20 to 3 at that point. Right. So It's one of those situations that's really wild, but the Colts season, it's definitely not been the kind of season that we wanted and what we were expecting, but one more week and, we get to look forward to the 2023 off season and what this team can give us more hope for on next season.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who is tuning in here live, or if you're listening after the fact, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff so you are notified, and also, put on the notification bell so you're notified when we drop new content. Guys, we're almost out of this terrible season like we talked about, and so there's going to be a lot of content coming out. I mean, if I could show the folks at home, Derek, just the list of topics that we have, not even mentioning, talking about a new head coach potentially, talking about potentially a new GM, talking about a new quarterback. Like, there's so many other things that are going to come up. There's so many video ideas and so many topic ideas that I'm so excited about where this is going to go this offseason. I mean, we continuously have this steady climb here on the channel. And so I just think this is another year, Derek, where this channel just takes off and explodes. Again, thank you to everybody who did help make 2022 a great year for our channel. So really appreciate it. And also, Derek, I just wanted to mention, I believe it's today marks now year 4 of the channel officially today. Yeah. Started the channel 4 years ago, January 6th. Ironically enough, was talking about a playoff game, a playoff win for the Colts. So,
and it was against the Houston Texans too.
So what better game to end on, I guess, on the 4-year anniversary of that. But yeah, thank you everybody who's been with us through this journey. It's awesome. Wanted to mention kind of before this game, some scenarios here. I know you talked about some scenarios already with the Colts, Derek, but for Houston, I think they have a couple options. The first one obviously is if they lose, then they have the number 1 overall pick. But if they win and Chicago loses, then Chicago would actually jump them and get into the number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. And I think, as this season has been lost, I know for certain fans, and I know for you and I, it can be really hard to root for the Colts to lose, right? We're not wired like that. But you look at it overall, and honestly, would you win further if Houston beats you this week, and then you're able to maybe make a swing and trade with Chicago, who doesn't need a quarterback, mind you, and you're able to get the quarterback of your choice? You're gonna have to give up a ton because there's gonna be other teams, obviously, that are vying for that as well. But you have literally the best position out of pretty much all these teams that are needing a quarterback. Maybe you could argue, like, I don't know, Seattle might be the other team that could potentially, you'd have to, kind of get into a war with a little bit and everything. But yeah, that would just be very interesting for sure. And that would definitely make a lot of interesting talking points going up into the 2023 draft. So that's just kind of the scenarios right now for Houston. We already know the Colts scenarios as well. We've talked about it before. The Colts go all the way up to 3, or they could fall all the way to 6 this week, depending what happens. So obviously for draft position's sake, you want them to go up to number 3, because that would make things exponentially easier from a compensation standpoint to go up and trade with Chicago, potentially, if they move up to number 1. So that's best case scenario. But anyway, let's get into this game. Let's talk about it. You mentioned, man, it's just been a bad year, all things considered, for this Colts offense. I mean, they come into this year, right, after reflecting on this year, 3 quarterbacks, 5 quarterback changes, and 30th ranked offense, 29th in yards, their worst team in terms of turning the ball over. They're 23rd in passing yards, 24th in rushing yards. So bottom of the barrel in pretty much every category for this offense. I mean, it's been well documented how bad this Colts offense has been this year. But it's almost like the thing with this Colts offense is, like, it almost has to be seen to be believed how bad it's been at points this year. And really, I think it's even taken a turn for the worse having Jeff Saturday as the interim coach. I feel like it was really, really bad to, like, historically bad now, which is saying something, because, I mean, we talked how bad that Patriots game was. I mean, in some ways, it's been just as bad, if not worse, on the offensive side for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, just really is a terrible situation from everything. And it feels so stupid that we have to continue to talk about it, because, like, it's something that every week it just doesn't get any better. And, we've beaten it to death at this point. And, you're going into this Texans game with this, and Caleb Gorzel with the $5 super chat. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. I hope you are having a great day. If we don't get a quarterback on the draft, would you guys like to see someone like Jordan Love? Thank you for the $5 super chat, by the way.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Me personally, no. I do not want Jordan Love. I don't know if I can speak for Cody or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm to the standpoint of, like, it's rookie or bust for me. Like, you have to get that guy out of, because you're having some contracts that are coming up. You're going to have to rework some contracts, eat some dead cap. And so, in my opinion, for the long-term success, it makes the most sense to go just get a guy that you fall in love with, right? I know a lot of people say Jordan Love's still essentially a rookie, but I mean, let's be honest, like, how many times are the Colts going to kind of get a retread, if that makes sense? Jordan Love's probably a little bit different than all these other quarterbacks, but yeah. And who's to say that the Packers want to trade him, like, who's to say that? I don't know, but I'd personally prefer to just go draft a quarterback and just develop one of these young guys. Because, it's kind of like, that's how every good team has sustained success is going and getting their guy and just developing him. So appreciate the question, but I think that's where I stand on it as far as the quarterback situation goes right now. So, but anyway, going back to this game, to this matchup, the Colts offense comes in as one of the worst in the league in terms of just about everything, but especially passing. The interesting thing about that, man, is that Houston actually is not too bad. You know, they're a bad football team, but where their strength lies on defense is actually, believe it or not, they're not too bad, not too shabby in terms of defense. They have a top 5 defense in terms of, they have a top 15 defense in terms of passing yards allowed. I was reading attempts, not yards there, but so not that it's great, but like this Houston defense, they do have a clear strength. And, you know, Derek Stingley is a big part of that and what they like to do. And so I think that could definitely be something that favors Houston in this game, is like their defense has shown at times that it can be at least semi-competent against the pass. Colts offense has not even been semi-competent, Derek, in terms of passing the football. So now with Sam Ehlinger, you know, and again, it's kind of crazy how you went from, you know, Matt Ryan, you went to Sam Ehlinger, went to Nick Foles, went back to you went to Matt Ryan and then to Nick Foles and then back to Sam Ehlinger. It's a carousel, man. It's just absolutely crazy. But that's definitely a matchup I'm going to watch. Like, who does Derek Stingley shadow? I would assume it would be Michael Pittman, but like, who does he shadow? And you know, can the Colts do anything against him in this, you know, decently stingy Texan defense? So one thing though that I would say 100% is the Colts are going to have opportunities against this Houston run defense. Houston comes in dead last in the NFL in yards allowed, and just about every team has been able to run the ball pretty effectively on them all season. And we've seen, actually, you know, with the wake of everything that's been happening and how the Colts have been losing and just losing badly, we've forgotten that actually Zach Moss, when given the opportunity, has not looked bad this year. He's looked really good. He's averaging 4 to 5 yards per game in the last couple of weeks. And so I think the Colts could definitely find an advantage here, Derek. I think Zach Moss could be due for potentially a 100-yard game. Like, call me crazy, but if the Colts give him a certain amount of carries, I think he could definitely turn out an 100-yard day. He's come close.
Christopher Taylor with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Don't matter about a QB right now, in my opinion. Fix the O-line first. Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, thank you for the $5 super chat. Again, it's the same argument that a lot of Colts fans are having, which is that you got to fix the O-line first. You got to fix the O-line first. Guys, you'll never fix the O-line first and keep the same unit together for 5 to 10 years just for a quarterback. You can't do that. You can't keep waiting. That's the problem, is you keep trying to fix the O-line and then you get a retread quarterback and then you never end up being good enough. You can't have that argument.
Well, I get it to a degree. I think maybe as Colts fans, we watched Andrew Luck get the living crap beat out of him week to week. So we're probably a little bit more in attune to that, you know, like, get your quarterback protection. I get that. I agree with that. But actually the offensive line, if you look at it, it hasn't been great, but it's been better.
It was ranked the 11th best offensive line from the time Jeff Saturday took over.
So say what you want about how the offense has been worse and the team has been worse. But I will say 100% the offensive line has looked better. It still has some growing pains. There's still some things that are being missed, but Bernard Ryman's playing well. I mean, Quentin Nelson, he's had his issues this year, but I mean, he's been playing at a decent level, not his level, but he's not been a liability, I guess.
Yeah.
And for Quentin Nelson, that's outright terrible, you know, to say that, but yeah. And I think certainly they're going to have to address the offensive line in some capacity, but I think they still do have some pieces on that offensive line that I don't feel like, oh my gosh, like if it was still Matt Pryor out there every single week, I'd say absolutely left tackle. I can be talked into that. But I actually think there's like a couple young guys that I like. I'm interested to see how Will Fries continues to progress because, well, he hasn't been perfect. I think he's been about an average guard. So, you know, I feel okay about it. I still think there's clearly, I think center especially, and maybe guard you could throw in there too, that you absolutely need to address in some capacity. But I feel like the offensive line in the whole, they've been doing pretty well, certainly in the run game recently. And I know they faced some really poor defenses in that department, but I feel like it's a need 100%. but I feel like quarterback trumps that 10 out of 10 times. I mean,
A
how are you
10
going
out
to
of
go
10,
anywhere without a quarterback?
100%.
So
And then to go back to your original point of Zach Moss, I agree with you that needs to be the thing that the Colts need to do in order to be able to win. But my problem is with it is, the last 2 weeks, the Colts have been under the impression that the last 2 defenses that they have faced have not stopped the run very well. And yet we continue to only give our running back an average of 13 or 14 carries a game when he's averaging 5 yards a carry. Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. Drake Wally with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Pump for next Tuesday. I think this will be a 13-10 Texas game, unfortunately. Especially if Gilmore sits. I was gonna say I didn't actually end up looking at the final practice report.
is he going to
actually
sit?
look at that?
I haven't looked at it yet. I saw it came out. I'm going to do that right now before I forget.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I just saw it right here right now.
So you got it. Okay. Kylan
Yeah,
Granson.
so
Nick
let's
Foles.
see. So Nick Foles is out, of course. Kylan Granson is out. Stephon Gilmore's questionable. He did not practice all week, so that's a good indication he probably won't play.
Well, at this point, why risk further injury?
Yeah.
I mean,
and Brandon Faison is questionable, but he was a full participant. So that's about it right now. But,
gotcha. I mean, yeah, sit Gilmore. If there's any question, like, just sit him at this point. But yeah, anyway, I think certainly quarterback is the most important thing because you've seen teams, and I know it's not a recipe for sustained success, but like there's teams that they get their quarterback first and then they worry about their offensive line, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with Ryan Grigson and the problem with Andrew Luck is he just did not seriously enough invest into that offensive line. Like he didn't. You look at like what the picks that he had or the free agency things that he had. Really, who did he bring in? Right? He had Costanzo already. Who did he bring in that played semi-competent football?
The only other offensive lineman that you can give credit that actually did anything worth a damn that Grigson brought in was Ryan Kelly. As the only
that's
one.
true. You're Ryan Kelly, but that was later on. It took how many years of Andrew Luck's getting pounded?
Yeah,
4
it took
years?
like 5 years, almost 5 years.
It'll be interesting to see, but I certainly think that, it's almost like we've been on the extreme in certain ways where we've had Ryan Grigson who just, crazy enough, just did not address it or really just swung and missed so many times. And it feels like Ballard has been the opposite where he's invested so much in the offensive line, but he's neglected the quarterback, right? And he's neglected some of those other things. So I think there's a happy medium that you can find there where, you can go out and spend, but not if you're spending recklessly and handing out massive, ridiculous contracts. But also you can build through the draft. Like there's a reason why there's multiple avenues, right, to build a football team. And it's not one or the other. So,
right.
Yeah. Overall, though, with this game, I mean, especially if Stephon Gilmore is going to be out of this game, I think that gives Houston, obviously more of an advantage. And we've seen, Davis Mills hasn't been, great this year. I think that Houston will obviously still take a quarterback, but I still think they can do some stuff with Davis Mills to really, I don't know. I feel like they could potentially, with all the injuries to this Colts secondary, they could have some plays, man. They could make some plays down the field, especially if Gilmore and Rodgers are out of this game and, potentially other guys are missing this game too. We'll see on that. But we
already know Yannick is out. We've already heard a couple others. And it's a really weird dynamic, Cody, for this offense for the Houston Texans. Cause obviously, like you said, the Texans are probably going to go with a quarterback in the first round of this year's draft. The leading receiver for the Texans is Brandon Cooks. Not surprising.
Yeah.
But he only has 593 yards.
Wow.
So, and only 52 receptions. So, it's kind of funny because the amount of completions that Davis Mills has, he has less completions this year than what Derrick Henry had runs like 2 years ago in 2020 when he ran for almost 400 yards or 400 times. Davis Mills has only completed 270 passes. So there's not been a lot when it comes to their passing offense. The biggest storyline has been for the Texans is Dameon Pierce.
Yes,
the rookie running back out of Florida who turned a lot of heads with the fact that, his body physique is insane and how strong of a player he is. Actually leads all rookie rushers in yardage this year. And because he's been around, he's played for the majority of the games. He's had a relatively good rookie season, 940 rushing yards, averaging over 4 yards a carry. So, he's been a very consistent piece for the Houston Texans all year. And you got to imagine, like, if they had any competent passing offense with Dameon Pierce as a rookie running back, would have made things a lot more dynamic for their offense. So, and I mean, you got to be honest, Cody. I mean, with the fact that Dameon Pierce is running the way that he is, and for how the Colts rushing defense has looked over the last month, it definitely leaves you wondering that, he may have himself a good day too.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the Houston injury report. Can you pull that up for me?
The what report?
The Houston's injury report here on a Friday.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah. Did you see on a completely different tangent that the Dolphins might actually consider firing Mike McDaniel?
Yeah, I saw that. There's no shot.
If he does, we better be on the phone.
There's no shot. There's just no shot because they know that if he gets fired, he'll have another job within the week.
Right.
It's the truth. Here's the report. So, offensive lineman Jimmy Morrissey is out with a concussion. Philip Dorsett is out with a hamstring injury. OJ Howard was questionable, and defensive lineman Ogbanya is questionable, and Steven Nelson, the defensive back, is also questionable.
Gotcha.
So I see at least 3 names here that are going to be out. So
yeah. Okay. Just interesting. I was curious out of those. I see OJ Howard is on the injury report. Remember what he did to the Colts week 1. So
yeah, exactly.
That bears monitoring. He was a full participant on Friday, which makes me think that he'll probably play this last game.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be definitely one to monitor for Houston there. And just overall in this game, I don't know what to expect, Derek, with so many players out for the Colts, especially. I just don't know what to expect. I mean, you're going to see guys like Dallas Flowers and Tony Brown, some of those guys in that secondary, especially if Gilmore's out, get a ton of run here. Flowers didn't have a great day last week against the Giants. Can he rebound potentially? We know what he can do in the return department. Can he show something at corner this week against Houston? We'll see. But not holding my breath if that'll happen, but I guess we shall see. I guess the safety room, though, for the Colts is very healthy. So I guess that's a good thing. We'll probably see them play those 3 safety looks a lot more.
Yeah, and Kenny Moore's out too. So
and Kenny Moore.
Yeah, so there's at least 3 corners.
The Colts are down their top 3 corners, and we'll see if Faison's out too. They'll be down 4 corners. Yeah, Faison's
out too. Who knows?
So that's just crazy, man. That it's come to this point with this team. At this point, Derek, I just want to see young guys. Like I want to see Nick Cross. I want to see more of these young players, like Dallas Flowers that talks about. Like some of these young players just get an opportunity at this point. Like what do you have to lose at this point? Just looking at your future and trying to figure out, are any of these guys potentially a part of that? Right. I would be fine with that. So yeah, that's definitely what I want to do. I do think Michael Pittman does have a chance this game, Derek, to have 100 receptions on the year. I know the yardage has not necessarily been there this year at all by any stretch, but he definitely has an opportunity with 96 catches coming into this game to do something in there, which is awesome. Good for him. And if he has, over 105 yards, he'll reach 1,000 yards for the second consecutive year. So all that to say, we'll see. I don't know if I believe the Colts can even get to 105 yards of total offense with how they've looked recently. But
Pepe Mex, thank you for the 65 Mexican peso. Greatly appreciate that. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Happy New Year. Having players sitting out, we also need to get them all healthy. Yep, absolutely. You want to keep a bunch of guys healthy going into the off season. So I'm sure a bunch of that is a reason why, but Anything else that we have missed, Cody? I mean, it feels almost like a drag to kind of talk about this, knowing the stake of this game is absolutely nothing.
I feel like for the 25 minutes we've already been on here, about half of that's been talking about the future of this team. So, yeah, I mean, mercifully, like I said, the season's almost over. We're nearly there. So we're going to have a ton of content coming out, guys, just regarding everything from head coach to quarterback to anything and everything in between. Players that the Colts maybe, want to move on from or just cut bait with. We'll see. But yeah, I guess we always do a score prediction. So let's do that. Let's do a score prediction right now for this game. What do you have in this game and who do you have winning this game?
17-13 Houston.
You have Houston winning. Okay.
Yes, I have Houston winning.
I can't believe you gave the Colts 14. I'm be honest, completely honest. I'm not giving them 14. I mean, they eventually scored a touchdown. Remember when I asked and said in the Giants game, I said, I don't know if the Colts are going to score an offensive touchdown the rest of the year. Well, they scored a garbage time touchdown essentially, but so I guess I'll give them a touchdown. I will say it will be 17-10. Houston will win.
Okay. All right.
But it could be more because the Colts are so decimated at the corner position. I could see Houston like running up the score.
True.
And honestly, Derek, if they do that, what's Jim Irsay thinking? Like he's already probably angry enough as it is. If they go and get embarrassed by the worst team in football for the second consecutive year, I have a hard time thinking that Jim Irsay is just going to sit by and do nothing. Knowing Jim Irsay and knowing how he's been this year, I mean, could that potentially change his tune on Chris Ballard?
Absolutely.
So anyway, guys, that'll do it here for the preview. Colts versus Texans. Final game of the 2022 season. In terms of draft standpoint, this is definitely something that bears monitoring for not just the Colts, but also for Houston and where they end up. It's crazy, Derek, how 1 year can change a lot of things. How this time last year we were talking about a potential playoff spot. And here we are talking about a potential top 3 draft pick, all in the span of a year. It's just crazy.
Yep, absolutely. Really odd. But yep.
So cool. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. We love you guys. Stay tuned for the off season, right? We are having an incredible line of guests coming on Tuesday evening, and we are going to be talking about the state of the Colts in a roundtable format. We've got a couple guys that are coming on, and it's going to be awesome. Go check that out. The stream is already set up for that one. So we hope to see you then. And it's going to be a great discussion. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yep. Same here. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.